Hi, my name is Jen Nagle, and I'm interviewing Michael Angelo Caruso on the art of interviewing people.
Hi Jan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for being in my car today.
Well, you're more than welcome.
What can I tell you about interviewing?
Well, tell me, how do you get started?
Well, I think the key to interviewing is having interesting subjects, interesting people to talk to. I think everyone has a story, but I don't know that everyone knows how to tell their story. So it's important to find people that are able to deliver it, some sort of a Q&A and with sound bites and with a little bit of dynamism, this idea of being interesting.
How do you approach someone when you want to interview them?
Well, if you approach people who have healthy self-concepts and people who like to be interviewed, like me, it's not hard at all to get their attention and have them sit down. In this case, we're just using a simple flip video. And if you have a flip with you all the time, you'll find that paying people a nice compliment and getting them to warm up a bit, and then just simply asking them, would you mind if I interview you on quickly? And then I can help promote you via Facebook, and usually people are pretty amenable to it.
What do people most likely like to talk about or to be interviewed about?
That's key. You have to figure out what it is they want to talk about. If it's a topic that they're into, like say for example, I'm an author, I put together the 5 Cool Ideas book series, that if you ask me to talk about my 5 Cool Ideas book series, you know that it would be hard to get me to shut up. So by finding a topic, A, that people want to talk about, and B, that would be interesting to your following, I would say that would be a good place to start.
What are some topics that you want to stay away from interviewing people about, that they wouldn't be comfortable enough to tell you all the facts?
Everybody's different. I personally don't go negative. I don't like negative marketing. I don't like negative energy. Unfortunately, some people have an expertise in a negative arena. You might be interviewing somebody who mans a telephone for the suicide prevention line. Well, that's going to have negative and some positive, but mostly negative pull to it. Also consider where you're going to be posting the video. Facebook is pretty much a happy place where everybody's shiny and smiling all the time, and so you don't want to post downer videos on your Facebook page. So I think those are a couple of things to consider.
Yeah, unless maybe they can contribute to the steps out of out of a bad situation, or possibly getting some movement into a good positive direction.
Sure. I mean, if it's a happy ending, great. But if it's going to be a negative overall feel, I would suggest maybe another route.
Now, when you're interviewing someone, how would that benefit them?
Well, if you're promoting something that they've done, like a product or a service, in my case, again, a book, I think it's obvious how it would benefit them. The trick is getting it to benefit you, and that's where you have to pull out from the person you're interviewing salient, useful, practical information, some sort of entertainment that people would want to forward. That's how videos become viral. So, and that's where the interesting piece comes from. If you're working with interesting people who do interesting things, the result is almost, and you're interesting as an interviewer, you ask interesting questions, the result is certainly going to be interesting for your viewers.
Are there any particular rules that you would say, or guidelines that you would go by in interviews?
Yeah, sure. One thing, and we'll be watching this right now as we wrap up this interview, is the time frame. YouTube interviews are best at about 2 to 3 minutes. The longer the interview on YouTube, in general, the fewer clicks or views that you'll get. If you're going to do a longer form video with some content, that's cool too. Probably won't be watched as much on YouTube, but you could post it, for example, on Facebook, or you could post it maybe on your webpage and get people to watch the entire video. It's also kind of interesting if you have a longer form video like 4, 5, 6, 10 minutes, you might bait the hook a bit by at the beginning of the video announcing that something interesting is going to happen in the 5th minute of this video. It's the oldest trick in the book. And then people who are watching are more likely to stay around to the 5th minute to get that coupon code or the free offer or the the chance to win an iPad.
So then it might be useful for them to post the same video on their site as well as yours.
Oh, sure, especially if you're interviewing people who have a good following. I'm a strong believer, in fact, I coined the phrase when it comes to social media marketing to hitch your wagon to people with bigger wagons. So if you've got a following of 1,000 people on Facebook and you only interview people who have 3,000 friends or more, if the video is good quality and they follow through and post it, in fact, if you tag them in the video, it will automatically post to their Facebook page, their Facebook wall. So you don't even have to count on them to follow through. So what happens then is you post on your wall and 1,000 people see it, all your fans, friends. And if you tag the person with the bigger wagon, another 3,000, for example, see it, or 4,000 see it. And then just like that, 5,000 people are seeing it, many of whom have never been in your following before. And of course you can convert them to your Facebook page with that great technique.
In Facebook, is there any other way to tag the video other than using a person's name that's in it?
Sure, you can tag places. We happen to be doing this interview in a vehicle in northern Michigan, so it would be difficult to tag. I guess you could tag a nearby state park or something. But let's say you live near Auburn Hills, Michigan. You could tag that the interview took place, assuming it did, in the Palace of Auburn Hills. Well, thousands and thousands of people have checked into the Palace to watch Detroit Pistons games. So what happens then when you tag the person you're interviewing and the Palace is that it would show up out on the Palace page as well. And now you're hitting, what, I don't know, 50,000 people, 80,000 people, depending on how many people are in the loop. So it's a great question. And a lot of video marketing, or what I call image marketing, because we're really literally marketing, in this case, my image. Should I grab the steering wheel? My image on a video on Facebook. So it literally is a form of image marketing. Is the cleverness behind how you get more and more and more people to see it. For example, if you post it on your Facebook page, it goes away eventually with the newsfeed, you know how the newsfeed goes from the top to the bottom.
Right.
If you're able to post it in a Facebook, as a Facebook video, for example, you can reshare that video time and time and time again. If you have to find it in your timeline, you'll give up. You'll stop doing it. Whereas if it's in your shared videos, you can keep going back to the shared videos and keep reposting it. So that's, I think, a very clever technique. You also want to keep, as we wrap up here to honor our time frame that we talked about, you also want to record your video and record all of your content in what I call evergreen format, which means it can be recycled 6 months later, a year later, as long as 2 years later, maybe longer, because you're not referencing any content in the actual message that could be deemed anything that would age the video. For example, if I told you today was January 10th, 2012, which it is, you might say to yourself, well, that's old information, we don't do that way anymore, if you saw the video 2 or 3 years later. So I try to record all of my videos in what's called evergreen format.
So no expiration date.
That's right, no expiration date.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to let me interview you.
My pleasure.
I hope it's been helpful to all of our listeners.
Thanks, Jen. And by the way, you can find more about Jen Nagle, who's doing a terrific series on interviewing interesting people, by the way, on Facebook at Jen Nagle Writer. So you'll see some Jen Nagles. She's my favorite of the Jen Nagles on Facebook. And the way you'll know it's my Jen Nagle is Jen Nagle Writer, W-R-I-T-E-R. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.